He was asked if he wanted to see my face at that time.
Yep, they asked me. And I said, Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome back to Mehdinatv.
Pizza Hut.
We gonna eat Pizza Hut.
So in today's video, we're going to be discussing dating.
Dating?
Dating.
Dating? What do you mean dating?
Halal dating.
So a lot of you have been asking us questions on how in the world we got married when we never dated.
Yep.
So this video will answer all those questions that you had about how we came together, whether he actually saw me before we got married and whatnot. So watch till the end to get all those answers. If you like vlogs, sit downs,
Relationship advice,
just subscribe please, it's right there, and turn your bell notifications on because we post every week. So let's get into the video now. He sent me a message on Facebook to edit his essay.
Yep.
And because of that editing, we basically got to know one another because he was just like a different classmate and I used to work with him in that class, and that's how it started. So first we worked on that essay, and then we worked on 2 different projects in that same class, right?
Yeah, so what happened was in the beginning I asked her to edit my paper, and then we started chatting a little bit gradually more online. We were talking, and it was just about work, but then I eventually started seeing you more and more in the classroom, and then one time I actually asked, could I sit beside you?
Yeah, well no, you asked me that online. Can I sit beside you?
But then I was in person too.
I don't know about the in-person one, but I know it was asked online, and I remember rejecting you. So I actually didn't really interact with men at all, and it was funny because we were in the same class the semester after that too. So 2 of our classes were the exact same after the first class that we ever took together, coincidentally. And he would sit in that class and he would just look at me and I'd be like, stop looking at me, I don't want to talk to you, I don't want to interact with you.
No, it was real. Because there was actually a few times, especially in the earlier stages, when I did ask you, can I sit beside you? And she didn't even talk to me, she just kind of like pointed over there.
Yeah.
And I actually was a little bit offended because I had never had a girl say to me, go sit over there, like shooing me away, not even looking at me or talking to me. So at first I was a little bit like, why are you acting like that?
So in Islam, even the women are supposed to keep their gaze down, so I tried to make sure my voice didn't sound really super friendly when I talked to him, and I tried to make sure that I wasn't like being flirtatious in any way when I had conversations with him. Those are the 2 things I had to make sure, because I didn't want to come off the wrong way. Plus he was a different religion and I didn't want anything to go further than it was, and we were just working together. And like things progressed. We finally had a computer and psychology class.
I hated that class.
He hated it, but we got to know each other a little bit more in that class. He brought me my favorite juice, booster juice. I never asked him to do that. In fact, I didn't want to accept it when he brought it. Like, I didn't even want to accept that. But then I was like, he's not going to drink it and it's going to go into the waste.
Yeah, so what happened, this was I think a year or 2 in of knowing you, and this is when I was first more tempted to actually want to talk to you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you realized that,
I
but
didn't.
I actually, like, our class was only, I think, like, what, 30 people?
Yeah.
30, 40 people, and then we were talking a lot online, but we weren't sitting together in the classroom.
Yeah, ever. Even in that class, I used to sit in the front and you used to sit in the back, I think.
Yeah.
Or was it the other way?
I was sitting in the front and you were sitting more in the back.
I don't know.
And Mubina's really good with computer coding, so then we would try chatting online, but it was just so difficult to figure out.
So I had to, like, I ended up tutoring him. But then, like, it's just so weird because the way our system worked was just almost one coincidence after another, even though it doesn't make sense. It almost seems like it was on purpose, but it really wasn't. Because we even ended up working in the same research lab a year after that. I applied to it first because I was training him in that research lab. And there was no other way but to meet up for that because I had to train him in person, and I think that's also when we got to know each other more. I trained you because I was the senior RA in that lab.
Yeah,
so I had to train him. And I think that's when our feelings started developing. It was like the 3rd, 4th year of us knowing one another.
Yes.
That's when our feelings started developing a little bit more, because I realized that, okay, even though I don't really talk much with this guy in terms of like relationship stuff or like getting serious with him, I still am like a little bit feeling iffy about this going forward, because I'm getting feelings, especially because I have to keep meeting him to train him. So it was getting a little bit complicated for me. What about you?
I think at this point I was a little bit oblivious to any feeling I might have had, because I knew that we were 2 separate religions, and I had no idea that you had any feeling for me. I think at that point, there was a point when you did admit to me that you were developing feelings. Yeah,
I remember admitting that, and it was after so we worked in the research lab after I had that whole hospital thing, and you actually were very nice to me throughout that, and I kind of saw a different side of just men in general after that point. And when I would train him, I saw a different side of like men in general, because I kind of lost trust in ways in men or getting married, because I don't know, I just kind of lost trust. I thought I was never gonna get married at one point. So when these feelings began deepening a little bit more, we finally, like, I had to like get to him, and I had to explain to him that, you know what, I don't know how we can continue talking at this point. It was that April day, and if you guys haven't seen our How We Met video, go watch that, because you'll see like the whole process of how we met and how we got married. But for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to talk about how I developed feelings for you, and then I finally said it.
After you told me earlier on that you had feelings for me, I started looking at you differently.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did. So like, we did have that moment in April when everything happened, and it's true, but prior to that moment, when you did tell me you had feelings for me, I looked at our relationship, I think almost subconsciously, I looked at it differently. I feel like I started treating you differently. I don't know if you noticed a difference.
I didn't notice any difference, but this is the first time I'm finding out about this, guys.
I felt a difference, but like, it wasn't registering with me consciously that I felt a certain way, because you were there for me in a lot of ways. Although we were just working together, you were like a support for me throughout those years, and I did feel a connection with you. But then it's at that point when you said you had feelings for me, that's when I started looking at things a little bit differently, but I still knew there were religious barriers in our way.
Yeah, either way, even then I had to like make sure I was keeping it halal, because now I have feelings for this boy that I can never get married to. What am I supposed to do? So what I started doing was I started praying a lot, and I made so much dua to God. Like, I used to pray so much to Allah to just guide me. I used to pray that, God, if he is not good for me, then keep him away from me, or make him find someone else. Like, I used to literally like pray and cry to Allah, and I used to ask him, like, you know, Allah, if this boy is not right for me, just get him to be away from me. Or make him, like, you know, make him my religion so I can marry him, or something like that. I used to make dua like that.
Alhamdulillah.
Never in a million years would I ever think that this boy could convert to Islam.
I just want to say one thing that like I respect and admire about you is, for my situation, I had my family who weren't going to approve of our even friendship or potential relationship, right?
Yeah.
And we had religious differences. But in your case, you had a whole different system. You had to follow like the whole halal. I didn't have any concept of what halal relationship was.
Yeah.
So I would be able to talk to women and men, and it wasn't considered haram, right? So you had to, throughout this whole process, try to keep things as halal as possible.
I know, and guys, it was so hard because I was dealing with a person who didn't understand that concept.
I didn't understand that, so like the whole barrier between us was only was family and
it was
religion.
So one-sided. It was so hard, especially because I had to work with him for so many years. I used to dread working with him.
So sometimes I didn't know when I was pushing a certain boundary or not, because I didn't know what halal was.
I had to tell you. I had to tell you.
She had to continuously remind me, kind of drill in my head, no, I'm not allowed to do this, keep your distance kind of thing, right?
Yeah. And then finally that day in April happened.
Everything happened.
We had that discussion, and we were still not dating, just to be clear, guys. We never dated, ever. So all of this happened because we had to work together, and we developed feelings because of the fact that we had to work together.
Yep.
So, like, that's how easy it is to develop feelings. I feel like it's so weird. Like, if you know someone long enough, you'll develop feelings. I don't know. This was my experience.
Yeah.
I don't know about other people.
It was just like the most natural, like,
it was so natural,
unexpected, natural situation.
I know it happened with me a little bit, like I realized it a little bit earlier than him, but it did happen, and then I had to stop it. So when that day in April happened, I had to let him know that, you know what, we can't continue talking anymore. You have to go your way and I have to go my way. And it was the hardest day of my life, but it was also probably the hardest day for him because he had to decide whether he wanted me in his life or not.
Basically, I moved out and I started talking to this girl, and that didn't really sit too well with you.
Yeah, I think that's when I legit realized that I can no longer continue talking to this boy, even if it's work related, because it's getting too far. I just felt like, because I did so many, like I prayed so much, I did so much istikhara, and I was like, this is literally not going to work out. So I was like, done.
Yeah, and I think for me, my feelings got strong to a point where I kept bringing up to you is we need a direction with this relationship. Yeah. I'm done working with you now, and now we're in this like unknown place where we're not working together, but you have to keep things halal, right?
Yeah.
So for a few weeks after I moved out, I felt really uncomfortable with our relationship direction.
Yeah.
And that's why I started reaching out to other people, because I wanted to move on from this. Mm-hmm. But then what happened was that day in April, I keep saying that, but I had to actually spend an entire afternoon really reflecting on our relationship. And then whenever I tried to see past us talking and stuff, like I just couldn't. There was just a wall that kept hitting me. Exactly. And I'm like, I have such a connection with you, even though we just work, that I don't want to move on from this. I just told her, I don't want to move on from this. And we were like, I felt so relieved, at least myself. I don't know about you.
No, definitely. I felt the relief too, because at least we had a direction. And then on that same day, I remember talking to my mother, and I told her that, you know, you had this direction. She knew the whole time I was talking to him that I was talking to him. I never hid anything from my mom.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do anything, like, I didn't want to do anything sneaky, because then that would mean I'm doing something wrong, mm-hmm. which I wasn't. So I made it very clear to my mom that I was talking to a boy about work the whole time. My sister knew, my brother knew, my mom knew. Basically everyone knew. My sister actually kept saying, you know, you're gonna end up with him, and I'm like, well, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, we really had no idea.
We didn't. We really did not. I never thought in a million years I would get married to this one. I did not know.
We didn't know.
But yeah, so after we had this moment in April where we actually had a decision, now we had to figure out how to keep it halal going forward, because now we both knew we had feelings for one another, and we both wanted to get married as soon as possible. Obviously there were still hurdles, because I had to tell my dad and you had to tell your family. On top of that, you also had to like research Islam. This was the time when you were also researching Islam.
Yeah.
You got interested in Islam and you started researching it. And like, guys, if you haven't seen his convert story, go check it out, because it goes into detail on how that happened. Yeah. But yeah, basically during that same time period, he started researching Islam.
I think from my perspective, I thought it was just going to end up me being Christian, you being Muslim, but we somehow, like, I'd still try to pursue some relationship even though it wasn't allowed. Yeah. So I was in a confused state for a while, like, how is this going to work? But okay, let me learn about Islam. I doubt I'll believe in it.
But yeah, after that happened, he did end up converting to Islam, like a few months after that.
Yeah.
And like, still at this point we're not married, so we couldn't really meet up or anything, so we had to keep things halal and at a distance. But we did talk to one another while my mom was still in the room, or my sister would still be in the room when I'd talk to you, and it wouldn't be like conversations that were too weird or out there. It was kind of like, this is the process of our halal courtship in ways. We didn't talk a lot.
It was really hard.
It was hard.
Because I started a graduate position, I would still try to talk about work with you, mm-hmm. but it wasn't resonating because we weren't in the same class anymore. So you stopped knowing what I was talking about, so it was hard to maintain conversations sometimes.
Like, I still edited your stuff for you, which is something that I still edited some things for him. But then the time came when he actually had to do a legit proposal, and that was done over the phone.
Yeah.
I wish I had an elaborate proposal, but I didn't.
It
was okay. I don't mind it because it was halal. So
yeah.
You did say, will you marry me over the phone? He got me a ring, a customized ring, which is so sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It is kind of a big thing where I'm from to do something like kind of more extravagant.
I will make him do that.
Maybe someday I can do it even though we're married, but who knows. But
it doesn't matter, you can still propose to me.
Yeah, but at that point I think we were just relieved that I was able to do the proposal anyway.
Yeah. And then in that time he also got to know my dad. My dad found out, basically everyone found out that, you know, he was interested in me, he proposed, and then finally, by the end of that year, we got married, we got our nikah. We still did not live together because of like personal family issues, but we did get our actual marriage ceremony done according to Islam, so we did sign the papers, and we did believe in our hearts that we were married. Right? According to Islam, we were a married couple. Because of
the whole courtship, there is a process in terms of like if you're a guy like me who's a convert and you meet a Muslim girl, right?
Yeah.
In our case, I had to get to know your family. My family would have been involved too, but they weren't happy with my decision to convert, so I wanted to involve them. I just couldn't at that time. So it was basically me going to your house for a series. It was about like 3 or 4 meetings, I believe. 3 or 4 meetings. It makes it sound like an interview. And your uncle was there as well. And it did feel like an interview. So yeah.
Oh, you're invited to the second interview now.
It felt kind of like serious, like an interview.
Okay, you passed to the 3rd stage of the interview.
So yeah, I was just going one at a time, and they would just ask me questions about myself, ask me why I converted, like who am I, where am I from. They didn't know much about me, especially your dad.
Yeah, I would be there too, guys, watching him in the background. Like, I can't imagine what pressure he was feeling because we were all just there watching him as he was talking.
Yeah, it was like me in a room full of all of like your family members, and I was just answering questions. So there was pressure, but I think because like I felt like a love towards you. When you love a person, you can like get through all that. It was nerve-wracking, but
it was so sweet though. Like, he answered everything, and everyone loved him. There's no way you can meet this person and not love him. He's amazing.
I hope so.
Mashallah. No, you are. You're a really good person.
You too.
So yeah, that's how our halal courtship happened.
Yeah.
He was asked if he wanted to see my face at that time.
Yep, they asked me.
My dad asked him, you know, if you want to see her face, you can.
And I said no.
And he said no. He wanted to keep it a surprise. And I really appreciated that.
How did they react to that when I said no?
I don't think they fully believed you didn't see my face.
I think that was the thing. They thought, oh, he probably saw it anyway, right? So like, what does it matter?
Yeah, like I don't think they fully like believed that you didn't see my face before the wedding day.
Yeah.
But it's what it is, guys. The first time he saw my face was our wedding day. So then the wedding day happened, and we finally got married after all that halal courtship and halal. I don't even think we dated. It wasn't even halal dating. It was more like, I don't know what it was. I don't have a name for it.
But you know what? I'll be honest.
It was a miracle.
I find that courtship more straightforward and simple than dating in our culture, because in our culture you can date a girl several times and still not be married. But with this, I only had 3 to 4 meetings and like bam, I'm married.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
Fast, right?
It's pretty quick, yeah.
Very fast process. And then you're stuck with me for life. Yee. But yeah, and so after that, it did take like a year for us to finally live together due to personal reasons.
Yeah.
But now we're finally, alhamdulillah, living together.
Yes.
We are completely grateful for what we have with each other, and we're just trying to build a life one step at a time. Anyway, that brings us to the end of our video.
Yep.
I hope you guys liked it, and if you did, please like this video. Please comment down below if you have more suggestions on what type of sit downs you'd like to see us do. And don't forget to subscribe. It's right down
there.
Turn your bell notifications on because we post every week. Until next time.
Assalamu alaikum.